All right, Sports Inquirer, Tan Marcel Toots. We are now joined by Louisiana Monroe head coach Bryant Vincent as the team prepares for the 2025 campaign. Coach, thank you for joining us. And a second year with the program, how's that been? I'm sure you feel in a much more comfortable position than you did this time last year.
No doubt. Anytime that you can get through that first year and just all the things that have to be built and have to be in place, and it doesn't just happen overnight, whether you're building a nutrition program or starting a nutrition program to getting the speed equipment that we need at the level that we need it, to the training equipment, to the uniforms, to the shoulder pads, to all the things that we have to build and be able to get in place from having the highest retention in the Sun Belt, and to being able to have another class come in to be able to fit those missing pieces and add the depth that this team needed to be able to compete for a championship.
You mentioned that. I don't know if it's an official number, but you might have the most retention in the conference in this day and age with all the transfers and other factors. How massive is that to return so many players on your roster?
I think it's more important than recruiting, because if you can't keep the current players that you have on your team, then what good is bringing new ones in? And I think that retention is more important than recruiting nowadays. And so I think that was a big win, because then you have experience coming back. You have guys that have been in the offense, the defense, the weight program, that went through all the things together last year, whether it was the big wins of UAB, of James Madison, of Jackson State, of Southern Miss, to also the tough losses. Because when you go through those experiences together, then you have a purpose to make sure that those bad experiences don't happen again and those good experiences do happen again. So anytime that, it's like a family, man. When your family goes through tough times, it makes you stronger. It bonds you together more. And I think that having the highest retention in the Sun Belt, I think it's top 25 in the country. I think we were 24. It's definitely been a positive, and being able to bring in 17 players there mid-year to add to what we already had coming back. I think we added some really key pieces that are going to give us a chance to have a good football team.
Yeah, and what about those returning offensive players, including quarterback position or the competition? Just overall, how is that unit looking as you're getting ready for this year?
Well, if you look at the quarterback position, you've got Aiden Armenta coming back as our starter, Hunter Herring, and then Landon Graves as our number 3 right now. If you look at our offensive line, you've got Elijah Fisher coming back at the center position, Jay Mickles returning, Q McBroom at the left tackle, started several games for us, and then we've got great competition for the left guard spot right now with Roscoe Tucker, Reese Steele, and Colleen Croswell. And then A.J. Vincent, we felt like was a really big signee for us in mid-year, and he's come in, had a great spring. So right now he's at our right tackle spot. With John Goodman and David Applewhite battling it out, I think we're 2 deep, somewhat 3 deep in certain positions on the front. The thing that makes our offense go are our tight end position, and I've had a lot of tight ends play in the NFL in this offense. And I think this tight end room is the best overall tight end room that I've had. You got Nate Sullivan back. You've got Julian Nixon back. You've got Rylan Green back. But, I'll give you an example. Rylan Green was 6'5", 250 pounds. He's 6'5", 270 right now and can run. Julian Nixon showed up at 6'4" and a half, 268 pounds, and couldn't run 50 yards without, about to fall out. So now he's 248 pounds and in great shape and looks great. I just think those 3 guys, along with Cy Stovall and along with Peyton Todd now and along with Cooper Eldridge, we've got our tight ends are what make our offense go. And I'm really excited about our tight ends now. And then you go to our running backs. I know we lost Ahmad Hardy, but we've had a lot of good running backs in the last 10 years, and we've had 6 running backs finish in the top 10 rushing. We had the number 1 rusher in the country in 22. So this running back room, top to bottom, is the best running back room I've had in my career, with Tyrell, T-Bird, Tyrell Reed, to Zach Palmer-Smith, to Braylon McReynolds, to Deshaun Ford, the big freshman that's coming in, to we've got to Jaden Wright. So we've got great depth at that position. And The receiver room was a room that we really needed to upgrade, and we felt like we did. We totally revamped our running back room and our receiver room. We added Nick Trujillo, who we signed at New Mexico. Him and Aiden were roommates. So I think Nick is going to be a really good player. J.P. Coulter, you got Jake Godfrey back, Tyler Griffin back, and then we added Rico Powers and Brandon Burkhalter. So I think that our receiver room is, we've totally revamped it, and I'm excited about it. So I think offensively we're going to be a lot more explosive and a lot more efficient in third downs.
How about defensively? Team has done very well in defending the pass, but struggling against the run. What in this offseason did you see in just having a better, it's odd saying a balanced defense, but not being so susceptible to the rushing attack, but keeping your passing defense strong as well?
I think the biggest thing we did, we went out and we signed a lot of really good defensive linemen. I think you look at Cliff Mosley, who's 6'5", 325 pounds on the inside. You look at, I think Jaden Hamlin is starting to become the best version of him. Levante Jacobs. I think we've signed Big Jerome, who's 6'6", 348 pounds. We've just Tay Woody is another guy that's a 6'4", 315-pound guy. So we've added those pieces because we've got, you've got Cavante back as our field end. You've got Dylan Howe back, and you've got Davin Anderson. You've got Billy back, and you've got Jaden Callender back, and then we added Ziggy back. So we've built that interior to really match our edges, and I think our inside linebackers, I'll put that group up against anybody in this league, from Cedrian Langston to Noah Fleming, who's 6'3", 250 pounds. He's got 7.9% body fat. To Marcus Ross, who I think is an elite player. To Tyrese Hopkins, who's back at 248 pounds, and Kelby Holmes, and even Brett Drillette, who's a solid special team starter, is probably one of the best third or fourth string inside linebackers in this conference. So then you add a guy like Cam Canterbury to the star position with Steven Sawan coming back. You got David Gotze back at the corner position. We added DeArco Perkins, Corey and Wilson. We added Duke Benson. So I think we've recruited it really, really well, and I think these guys are all impact players.
I don't think I've met a coach or so far that it seems like you value depth as just as much as, because we look at the starting 11 on each side and even the starting special teamer, a specialist. But you really, every position, it seemed like you've broken down too deep.
Too deep.
Yeah, or even 3 deep, I'm sure, in some cases when I hear it again. Do you value depth just as much as obviously you want to have your frontline starter, but it seems like you are really focused on development and making sure that reserve is just as good when I guess that time comes for them.
That's what I think it really hurt us last year is I didn't do a good enough job of building depth year one, and that's a tough thing to do when you bring in 73. But I think our depth is what really hurt us down in that home stretch. I mean, you've got a guy like Billy playing 60-some snaps, 68 snaps at a time, and we want to roll. We want basically to have 2 starters. So Billy's rolling, Nate's rolling, the next guy comes in, and you don't miss a beat. And then it's just a continuous cycle because it's tough, especially in any league in Division I football. But in the Sun Belt, it's a physical league, and those games are won up front. And I felt like our depth really hurt us as it went because we just couldn't sustain. We had leads in the second half. We were in those games in the second half, and we just didn't. I didn't do a good enough job as the head coach to get those teams to find a way to win that 6th game.
Yeah, and just you won your first 5, but then just went winless the rest of the way. How frustrating was that looking back at it? And is that just what you learned about the depth and maybe just coaching approach to second half of a regular season with this squad?
Well, anytime that you come into year one from a program that's been down, you've got to just build it, and you got to take it one step at a time, one phase at a time. So we had that phase 1 last year. Now phase 2, we've got the depth, we've got the chemistry, the familiarity, the offense, defense, special teams is the same schemes. So guys, they're not learning. Yeah, we've added some wrinkles and stuff like that, like everybody else, but these guys understand the expectations. They understand the scheme, and now they can just turn it loose and play and know the guy next to them instead of going, where are you from? What's your name? What school did you go to? So we've had 90% of our team together since January.
All right, Coach, we've got a few minutes here left. Thanks for joining us once again, Bryant Vincent from Louisiana Monroe. Just some fun questions. Favorite stadium that you've coached in besides, obviously, your home at ULM?
Favorite stadium was probably NC State. I know that's wild, but it was different.
Yeah,
Riley,
really?
it was different now, and they had the Wolf out front, and they had their facility right behind it, and you'd come out, and in warm-ups, they're whoo, Wolf back, whoo. I mean, it was a beautiful setting, and the way they were behind their team, and just they were all one. I thought that was a very unique setting.
Favorite recruit that you were able to sign, and that could be any criteria that you want to use.
Golly, that's a lot of players.
Maybe it was a fun story, someone you saw really young and they developed more.
I'll tell you what, here's a great story. Gerald Everett had been cut from Butler, and he had been cut from Hutchinson's Junior College. He was a receiver, and I went out and saw him, and I was like, look, man, you're a tight end. He was 6'4", about 220 pounds, but he was outside receiver. I said, dude, you ain't fast enough. I said, he goes, Coach, I'm a receiver. I said, well, you've been cut from 2 junior college. How's that working out for you? And he's like, I'm a receiver. So I stayed on him for 3 months, and I finally got him and his mom to come to UAB and to show him campus. And I showed him how we used our tight ends and how we flexed them and how we did. And 3 years later, he was a second-round draft pick, and he's still on year 8 in the NFL. So I thought that was a pretty good story.
Yeah, that's true. You use that quite a bit with some of your other current and future players. Best high school recruit that you witnessed in person?
Julio Jones, without a doubt.
You got him
Julio
in
Jones.
Alabama. Okay.
Yep, Foley, Alabama. I watched him play Prattville High School, and there was about 8 Division I players on that field, and he was just a man amongst boys. Oh, yeah, he's different.
Absolutely. Favorite pregame meal, or just kind of some things you like to do to get ready for a game?
I don't eat a pregame meal. That's probably been a 28-year tradition. I don't play. I'm about my mentality because I still call the game, so I think it's very important to always. I like to play chess, not checkers. So I'm rehearse the game plan. I play the game probably Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then the game day. It's I've always want to be where a lot of times when I'm not looking at the call sheet and I'm just out there flowing it, then I know I've prepared the right way.
One area of college football you'd like to improve, or just see things get a little bit better?
I think we've got to eliminate these street agents. I think that they manipulate our players. They manipulate young kids. I think that they should be certified. They should be certified agents. I think that you're seeing a lot of kids get manipulated, and a lot of kids that were in good situations go into bad situations. And how can you trust street agents that you don't have a relationship with, or they really don't know what the situation is at another school, and all they're wanting to do is make $1. And you can destroy a kid's career that he's worked his entire life for over manipulating his mind. I think it's sad. I think it has to be fixed, and I think it's something that needs to be addressed in a hurry.
Yeah. And then lastly, best coaching advice you've given or have received, or maybe something you were told and you carry it on to just other people.
I think I was probably 22, 23 years old, and I was fortunate enough to spend some time with Larry Blakeney, who took Troy from Division II to FCS to Division I, and just how you treat people. Larry Blakeney was one of the best human beings, if not the best human being that I've ever seen. And he said, Brian, everybody's worth $1 million. He goes, trust me. He goes, and I watched him treat every single person he come in contact with, and it was powerful, and it made a big impression, on me as a man.
Coach, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Good luck this season.
Thank you.